memory. The reference material is William Starling Computer Organization and Structure, right? But not the 8th edition. There is a newer version than 8. But anyway, this slide is taken from that one, 8th edition. Now I'll share the material also. I'm having a copy of this William Starling's Computer Organization and Architecture book, PDF one. I'll share it to you, and then you can use it. And this is very important lesson and somewhat complicated to understand, right? That is why I cancelled the yesterday lecture and conducting today. Right? Now, now these are the characteristics of cache memory. Now, before going to detail, let's see what is cache memory and how it. Now let's talk about just memories, right? Now these are the characteristics of memory. In computer systems, there are a lot of memories, right? Namely, we can take processor registers, then L1 cache, L2 cache, and sometimes L3 cache also, and then the main memory, and then magnetic disk drives, tape drives, and optical drives, flash drives. Likewise, there are so many memories, right? And this location and capacity, these characteristics are depend on the variety of the memory. And if it is processor register, the location is inside the processor CPU module, right? The capacity is very small. The unit of transfer is maybe a block, not the block, a word, right, or a bit. And then the access method is kind of direct access. And performance is very fast, right? Physical type is semiconductor. Likewise, right? Now these are the characteristics of the memories. In the location, if it is processor register and the cache memory, then it may be if it is processor register, then obviously that is inside in the processor module, the pin package, right? CPU pin package or a CPU module, right? And if it is RAM, then it is internal, right? It is hard disk or tape drive, then it is external. Likewise, location may be changed. And the word size, the capacity is measured in word size, right? Normally in processor registers, and we can use number of words or bytes, right? If the memory is getting bigger and bigger, instead of words we use bytes, right? Now, then what is word size? The word size is a few number of bits. It can be directly accessible, right? Now, if it is a semiconductor memory, right? We need to address a portion of the memory at one instant to read or write a particular memory, right? So, number of bits accessed in one instant called word, or directly accessible number of bits, right? Or minimum number of bits accessed by one instant, right? in digital electronics, you may design some memory modules, and then you know what is word and what is word size, and how to prefer those words, right? But in this module, it is difficult to go to that level, right? And the unit of transfer is the number of bits, or the number of or the portion of memory transfer in one instant, right? Usually that is governed by the data bus. Earlier we have discussed this data bus, what data bus is and how it works, right? Data bus is just a communicating partner, right? So it has several lines, communication lines to transfer bits, right? If the number of bits getting larger or getting more and more, the width of the bus is getting more, right? The unit of transfer is fixed to that bus, data bus, right? If you have 8-bit data bus, then we can transfer 8 bit at once. So the unit of transfer is 8 bits, 1 byte, right? That is normally transferring in internal. Internal means within the processor or within yeah, within CPU and register, like, right? If it is external, let's say within RAM and the cache, then it will be a block, right? Block is larger than a word. It may be most of the time it may be few bits, few words, like 4 words or 8 words, 16 words, or something, right? Block is few number of words, right? Which is transferred from main memory to, most of the time, main memory to cache, right? From cache to CPU, it will be a word, right? Now, is it clear? The unit of transfer is, now if we consider normally when we boot the computer, our content is stored in the RAM. Once the CPU needs to read some data, it takes that data from the main memory, right? Normally, it will take few words, not a bit or not a word. It takes a block. Block means set of words at once and place it in the cache memory. And then it takes the particular word from cache to the CPU, right? So when it comes to the unit of transfer from RAM to cache, it will be a block, and cache to the processor, it will be a word, right? Have you understood? I think you understood. Now, if you have any doubt, please ask, right? Otherwise, you won't understand. And the addressable unit. Addressable unit means uh, CPU is when reading data, CPU is producing the address of the particular location and read the location, right? Now the addressable unit is smallest location which can be uniquely addressed. Then if it is uniquely addressed, then you can read or write that particular location, right? So the addressable unit is the smallest location which can be uniquely addressed, right? So addressable unit in internally, that is word. So if it is magnetic disk, then it will be a cluster, right? Several sectors, right? So with A is a number. Now let's say that is 2. A is 2. Then you can have 2 to the power 2 different locations address unit, right? If you have 2 address bit, 2 bit length address, then you can have 2 to the power 2 addresses. Now if the address bit length is 3, then how many addressable units you can produce? Now if the address bit length of the address bit, or the length of the address is 3, then 2 to the power 3, that is 8 different addressable units you can produce, or 8 locations, right? If you have address of 4 bit length, then 2 to the power 4, that means you can have 16 different addressable units, right? Different addresses you can produce, right?
අතන අර වර්ඩ් කියලා වර්ඩ් එකක් කියලා අදහස් කරේ මේ සාමාන්‍ය අපි නිකන් වචනයක් දැන් හෙලෝ වගේ කියන වචනයක්ද මේ වර්ඩ් කියන එක අදහස් කරේ?
ඔයා ඒ ප්‍රශ්නේ මම පැහැදිලි නැහැ, ක්ලියර් නැහැ. පොඩ්ඩක් ආපහු කියන්න.
අර කලින් මේ කලින් ස්ලයිඩ් එකේ වර්ඩ් කියලා වචනයක් තිබ්බේ. අර මේ larger than word කියලා. එතකොට වර්ඩ් කියන වචනේ මේ අපි සාමාන්‍ය පාවිච්චි කරන වචනයක් කියන අදහසද එහෙම නැත්නම් එතන මේ
දැන් මෙතන මේ ස්ලයිඩ් එකට යම්. මේක නේද ඔයා කියන්නේ, මේකද?
ඔව් සර්.
මේ වර්ඩ් සයිස් කියලා කියන්නේ දැන් අපි වචනයක් කියන එක නෙමෙයි. වර්ඩ් එකක් කියන්නේ බිට් සීක්වෙන්ස් එකක් තියෙන එකනේ. බිට් සීක්වෙන්ස් එකක්. එතකොට බිට් කීපයක් තියෙනවා. හරි? එතකොට වර්ඩ් එකක් කියලා අපි කම්පියුටර් ආකිටෙක්චර් වලදී නැත්නම් ඩිජිටල් ඉලෙක්ට්‍රොනික්ස් වලදී අපි කියන්නේ මේ ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න පුළුවන්, යුනික්ලි ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න පුළුවන් බිට් කීපයකට. ඒ කියන්නේ මේ බිට් ටික අපිට වෙනමම ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න පුළුවන්. අපි ඒ කියන්නේ ලියනවා නම් හරි, කියවනවා නම් හරි, අපිට ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆර් කරනවා නම් හරි, මකනවා නම් හරි, මොනවා හරි කරනවා නම් අපිට යුනික්ලි අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරගන්න පුළුවන් බිට් කීපයකට. හරි. ඒතකොට ඇඩ්‍රස් එකක් දීලා අපිට කියන්න පුළුවන් මෙන්න මේ බිට් සෙට් එක කියලා. අපි ඇඩ්‍රස් එකක් දුන්නම ඒ බිට් සෙට් එක විතරයි සිලෙක්ට් වෙන්න හරි මොනවා හරි වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ කියන්නේ අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන එකක් නෙමෙයි. ඒක විතරමයි. ඇඩ්‍රස් එකක් යුනික් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ඒකට ඒ ඇඩ්‍රස් එකක් දුන්නොත් ඇඩ්‍රස් එකෙන් කියන්නේ මෙන්න මේ මිනිමම් වර්ඩ් සයිස්, වර්ඩ් එක. ඒ කියන්නේ බිට් සීක්වෙන්ස් එක. හරි. ඒකට ඒක තමයි අපිට ගන්න පුළුවන්, අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරගන්න පුළුවන් පොඩිම මෙමරි amount එක. තේරුණාද?
ඔව් සර්. හරි. thank you.
එතකොට අපිට අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරගන්න පුළුවන් පොඩිම මෙමරි එකේ කොටස තමයි වර්ඩ් එක. හරි? සමහර වෙලාවට ඒ වර්ඩ් එක ඇතුලේ තියෙන බිට්ස් උත් අයිඩෙන්ටිෆයි කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙලාවල් තියෙනවා. සමහර තැන්වලදී එහෙම කරන්න පුළුවන්. එහෙම කරන විදිහට ඩිසයින් කරන්න පුළුවන්. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් වර්ඩ් එක තමයි අන්නේ අඩුම ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න පුළුවන් යුනිට් එක විදිහ. right? එතකොට CPU එක ඇතුලේ ට්‍රාන්ස්ෆර් වෙන්නේ, data transfer වෙන්නේ මේ words විදියට. ඒ කියන්නේ registers, control unit එක, ඊළඟට ඇතුලේ තියෙන registers, ඒවා අතරේ ALU එක අතරේ මේ transfer වෙන්නේ data මේ word එකක් විදියට. හරිද?
හරි සර්.
එතකොට cache memory එකේ ඉඳලා ඇතුලට ගන්නෙත් මේ words විදියට. CPU එකට ගන්න. ඒක. main memory එකේ words විදියට data තිබුණාට transfer කරන්නේ block එකක් විදියට. words කීපයක් එකට. 8ක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්, 16ක් වෙන්න පුළුවන්. set එකක් තමයි transfer කරන්නේ. ඒකට ඒකේ වාසියක් තියෙනවා. අපි බ්ලොක් එකක් විදිහට ඇඩ්‍රස් කරනකොට එතන words කීපයක් තියෙනවානේ. එතකොට word එකකින් word එකට වෙන වෙනම ඇඩ්‍රස් කරන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. එතකොට ඇඩ්‍රස් ගන්න අඩු කරගෙන මෙමරි කැපැසිටි එක තියාගන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට ජෙනරේට් කරන්න පුළුවන් ඇඩ්‍රස් ගන්න අඩු වුණාට ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ. right? අපි දැන් මෙහෙම හිතමුකෝ. කාමරයක තියෙන බඩු ප්‍රමාණය. අපි බඩුවෙන් බඩුව එහෙම නැත්නම් මේ යුනිට් එකකින් යුනිට් එක අයිටම් එකකින් අයිටම් එක කියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මෙන්න මේ බඩු ටික ගිහින් අනිත් කාමරයට දාන්න කියලා. එතකොට අපි අයිටම් එකකින් අයිටම් එකකට නම් කරොත් එහෙම අයිටම් ලිස්ට් එක ගොඩක් වැඩි වෙනවනේ.
ඔව්.
නමුත් අපි දැන් මේ රූම් එකේ තියෙන බඩු ටික කිව්වම එකයි. ඒ රූම් එකේ නම්බර් එකක් හරි මොකක් හරි විතරයි දෙන්න ඕන. ඒත් අන්න ඒ වගේ වාසියක් වෙනවා බ්ලොක් එකක් විදිහට ඇඩ්‍රස් කරනවා. right?
හරි සර්. thank you.
Now, have you understood this relationship? Number of addressable unit that is equal to 2 to the power width of the address. Right? එතකොට bit දෙකයි නම් අපිට හතරක් පුළුවන් different අපිට addresses හතරක් generate කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට locations හතරක් අපිට address කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට bit තුනක් තියෙනවා නම් දෙකේ තුන්වෙනි බලය කියන්නේ 8යි. එතකොට අපිට different locations 8ක් address කරන්න පුළුවන්. එතකොට අපි දැන් bit තුනක් තියෙනවා නම් පටන් ගන්න පුළුවන් 03කින් 000 වලින් පටන් අරගෙන 111 වලින් ඉවර කරන්න පුළුවන්. ඒකට ඒ සීක්වෙන්ස් එක ගත්තොත් එහෙම ඒකේ තියෙනවා combinations 8ක්. ඒකට different combination. ඒකට එකක් ගත්තාම ඒක unique. ඒකට ඒ වගේ unique ඒවා addresses 8ක් අපිට හදා ගන්න පුළුවන් bits 3ක් ගත්තා. අන්න ඒක තමයි මේ මෙතන කියන්නේ. right? Now the access method, there are few access methods: sequential, direct sequential access, direct access, random access, associative access. Right? Now let's see what are those access methods. Sequential, start at beginning and read through in order. Access time depends on the location of data and previous location. Right? Example is table. Now, what is sequential data access mean? Starting at the beginning and read through in order. Now, we have to follow the order of the locations, right? When reading or writing, right? We cannot go into the place where we need at once, right? To read a particular location, we have to read the location before that, right? Likewise. Right? Now, start at the beginning and then we have to go to in order. Normally the tape drives are the best example. Right? Now let's say if we need to play a music recorded in audio cassette, then we have to, now if we need to play the third song, let's say, now we have to go through the first one and second one, and then only we can read the third song. We have to pass first one and second one too.
Yes.
Right? Likewise, we have to go sequential. We cannot directly access. Right? And then the direct access may include one or more levels in cache or RAM. Right? Now, when it comes to the semiconductor memory, we can directly give the address by activating few electric lines, right? Wires, right? By producing the address, we can directly access. We can switch on that particular word or row number and the column number, and we can directly refer that, and then we can read that particular place or the location, right? The best example is RAM, right? Now we haven't done RAM yet, but in next lesson or something we can do the RAM, right? And this memory hierarchy, that is we have done in early lesson, and the performance is based on the access time, cycle time, and the transfer rate, right? And performance is time between presenting the address and getting the valid data. Presenting the address means the processor normally produce the address. Generally, processor is the place generate the address, right? Once the processor generate the address and place it in the particular memory devices, right? Then it will, the particular memory unit will facilitate to read or write data, right? And the access time is the time taken from receiving the memory address by a particular memory unit and uh, to getting the valid data. Now let's say we are going to read a particular memory unit, right? To read the particular memory unit, CPU has to produce the memory address. Once CPU produce the memory address, it will communicate to the particular memory unit. After receiving the particular memory unit, it takes some time to produce the data to the line, to the reading line, reading terminal. Right? That time is known as the access time. Right? Let's say memory cell in the RAM. Right? Once it places the address of the memory unit, that goes directly to the each and every memory unit. Right? Then those memory units will identify the address, and if it is their own address, then they will activate. They will activate and they will release the data stored in the memory, whatever the memory unit. Most of the time, capacitors. Right? In RAM is built out of capacitors. Then the charge stored in the capacitor are released to the output terminal. Right? Those charge will go through a device called tri-state buffer, right? Then it will go to the bus, data bus, right? Now it will take some time to uh, do those activities, right? That time is known as the access time, right? And the memory cycle time, right? The time may be required for the memory to recover before next access. Time may be required for the memory to recover before next access. Now, these are electric memories, right? Once it is now, let's say a capacitor, then once we read that, the capacitor will be discharged, tend to discharge in some amount, right? After that, we need to refresh it. Otherwise, the data will change. Now, when we refer the data, means when we store data in the capacitor, right? Now we need to charge them, right? Now data may be the value may be 1 or 0, right? To consider that is 1, there should be some charge level. If it is exceed some charge level, then only we consider that is in high state of 1, right? If the charge is in lower level, then we consider 0, right? So that if charge is decreased up that level, then the value will change. The stored data will change. Now, if we store 1, after some time we will see that is 0. Right? So, to prevent that situation, to prevent that one, we need to refresh those capacitors time to time. To do that, there is a particular mechanism called refreshing the data. Refreshing lines are attached to these capacitors within the RAM. Right? So, we need to refresh, like after reading the data, it needs some time to recover. Right? That is the uh, time taken for this cycle. Cycle time means when we read or write data, just after reading or writing, we cannot refer again. Right? It needs some times to next reference. Right? That is called cycle time. Right? Cycle time is access time plus recovery time. And the transfer rate. Transfer rate is which data can be rate at which data can be moved. Right? Transfer number of transfers per second. That is the transfer rate. Within 1 second, how many uh, data sets can be transferred. Right? Normally, this is measured in nanoseconds, bytes per nanosecond. This transfer rate also can be studied in the RAM lesson. Right? And the physical types, physical memory types, semiconductor, example is RAM, magnetic disk tapes are also there, optical disk, CD and DVD, and hologram and the bubble memory. Physical characteristics of the memory, uh, decay, volatility, erasable power consumption, those are the physical characteristics. Decay means with the time it will get lost. The data will be get lost. Right? Now, let's see. Consider the previous example when we store data in a capacitor or charge capacitor. With the time goes, the charge stored in the capacitor will decrease. It will disappear. Right? It will discharge with the time. So memory will decay. The volatility means once the power goes off, then the data stored in the memory will lose. And erasable means we can purposely erase. And it consumes some power consumption. The organization, physical arrangement of bits into words, right? Then the words into arrays and columns, right? And hierarchy list, at the top of the hierarchy, we can see the registers and then the cache and then the main memory disk. Right? These things we have learned in the earlier lesson. And there's a concept known as locality of reference that is very important concept. Right? Now, what do you mean by the locality of reference? Now, let's say we in our program we run a loop. Right? We have in our program we have a loop to read a 2D array. When we reading the data elements, we read the first element, then we read the second element, then we read third element, like. So what are the data we refer? The processor need to refer when reading a loop, when executing a loop. Most of the time, if we most of the time, the same data item will be referred. Same data item will be referred. Now, if we read two consecutive data elements in an array, right? The array is same. Right? We read two elements from one array, single array. So the array is same for both reading or both writing. So the same address we have to generate. The same commands sometimes we have to generate. So when we execute instructions, right? So we need to, when we execute instruction, we need to refer memory location. Right? Now let's say for one execution, right, we use particular word in a block. Particular word in a block. Right? In the next time, next iteration, we refer the next word in the same block. Right? That can be happen. No? Most of the time that can be happen. Now let's say we are running a loop. Let's say, for example, we are running a loop. Then that can be happen. First time we will refer the first word in the block. Then we will refer the second word in the same block. So that is called locality of reference. We are referring the nearby memories, memory location. Right? That is the concept of locality of reference. Right? Now let's say now let's move to cache. Cache is small amount of fast memory. Right? Faster than the cache is faster than main memory. It sits between normal main memory and the CPU. May be located on CPU chip or on CPU module. Right? Now this is the place. Now this is the CPU and this is the main memory. The cache is located in between these two. Right? Cache is located in between This cache is a physical device, a physical place, right? A semiconductor module, semiconductor device, right? Sometimes that is placed in CPU pin package within the processor package, right? Now, if you inspect some processors within the pin package, they mention that what is the amount of L1 cache, what is the amount of L2 cache they have, right? So that is within the pin package. Or sometimes it may be outside the pin package also, right? Now, what is the reason for cache, having a cache? Right? Normally, what CPU does is, if CPU needs some data, right? Data or instruction, uh, it refer the main memory for that particular data or instruction, right? Once it is there, it will pick that instruction or data to the CPU and to place into the in a register, and it will process. Right? Now, the thing is, in processor registers are made out of flip flops. Right? You may familiar with the flip flops. Most of the time, D flip flops. Right? D flip flops, since those are semiconductor memories, right? These are very fast, faster than the main memory. Main memory is made out of capacitors, right? So that is very slow compared to the processor registers, flip-flop, right? So within the processor registers are very fast. CPU main memory, that is very slow, right? Now the processor time to time read the main memory and finding data item or instruction time to time. Right? Now this is very slow, right? This is a slow memory. The processing speed is mainly depend on the speed of the main memory, right? Now the thing is, CPU will generate the memory address, and if the main memory take that memory address, find the data and paste it in the memory bus, and then CPU will refer that, right? This cycle takes some time. Since this is slow memory, that cycle time is very low, right? If compared to the memories within the CPU, right? To overcome this limitation, manufacturers produce another faster memory in between these two. This is the cache, right? This is something like placing or keeping cache in our wallet, right? Now, let's say if we have excess money, now if we get the salaries, we keep those salaries in the bank account, right? Now, once we need some money, we need to go to the bank and take the money and come back, right? The next time if we need some money, then what will happen? We need to go to the bank and pick the money, right? Instead of each and every time going to the bank, we can take small amount of money and keep that in our wallet. Right? So that is very convenient, time-consuming thing. Right? Once we need money, we can get it from the wallet. Right? If the wallet is empty, then you can go to the bank and get some money and put into the wallet. Right? Likewise, now if we need some memory data, we can go to the main memory and we can take that memory and place in those memory in the cache. Right? And the second time, if we need some data or instruction, we can look it first in the cache. We can look for data first in the cache, and then if it is not there, then we can go to the main memory. Right? If we found that memory in the main memory, then we take that part to the cache. We place a copy of that memory in the cache, and we take that to the CPU. Right? Since computer transfer blocks within these two places, main memory and cache, right? Block consists number of words. Now let's say block has 10 words, right? Now if we, as in the previous example, if we are running a loop, now in first time, if we prefer the first word in the block, then in the first instance, that may be not in the cache. We have to go to the main memory and pick the first block or the some block and paste it in the cache. And in the first time, we need the first word of the block, and we take the first word for the processing. And in the next iteration, we will need the second block, right? Not the second block, second word. Right? Now the thing is, we have picked that particular block to the cache from the main memory. Now the block is there in the cache. Right? We don't need to go to the main memory to pick the second word of the block. It is there in the cache. Right? If that is there in the cache, GPU can take the second word from the cache. Right? It do not need to go for main memory. Right? Likewise, it can be taken the third, fourth, and fifth words also. Since it has 10 words, right? All those words can be read from the cache without going main memory. Right? That is due to the locality of the reference. Right? If that is not there, then it has to move on to the main memory and take the relevant block and place in the cache. Right? That is how cache operates. Right? Now, if one cache is not sufficient, manufacturers are tend to introduce 2 or 3 caches. Right? If there are more than one cache, right, they are referred as level 1 cache, level 2 cache, level 3 cache. Right? Once the size is getting bigger and bigger, it will tend to flow also. Right? And let's move on to the cache memory structure. Right? Not only the cache memory structure, cache and main memory structure. Now, first we look into the main memory, right? Now, consider this is the main memory, right? Now, main memory is divided into small pieces, parts. Now, this division is only logical, not physical. These are logically divided divisions, right? Logically separated, and each portion is given an address that is called memory address, right? This is the zeroth address, the first one, second one, third one, likewise, right? And the last one will be 2 to the power n minus 1, right? Now, if we have n number of different memory portions or locations, n number of memory locations, right? The last address will be 2 to the power n minus 1, right? And these memory small locations, small memory elements are grouped into blocks. Now let's say, now this is the addressable portion, directly addressable portion, right? So it is called a word, right? Now this is the first word, and this is the second word, and this is the third word, right? There are words, right? And there may be there are n number of words, n number of words, right? And we group these words into blocks. We take few number of words and make a block. Now in this example, k words are grouped into a block. Within the block, k words are there. Right? If we take another block, again k words are there. So main memory is divided into blocks. Main memory is divided into blocks. Each block is having same number of words. Each block is having same number of words. And like same way, cache memory is also divided into portions. Right? Cache memory is also divided into portions. Right? Now see this one portion. Now these are also logical division. Logical division. These are also logical division and not physical. Right? So the cache memory is also divided into blocks. Right? But there is a specific feature. Now consider a block in cache memory. Right? This part is belongs to one block, right? The capacity of this block is same as the capacity of the block in the main memory, right? This is a block of cache and this is a block of main memory, right? Main memory is having a block of 4 words, right? Same way, the size of the block in cache is also uh, k words. Capacity is same, block size is same, right? With k words, and here the capacity is also same, k words. Now let's say in main memory we have 4 words, 4 bytes capacity, and the capacity of the block in the cache also the 4 bytes, right? And there is a portion called tag that is to identify each block, right? And this is called line number, right? Now see this. Now here in the main memory we have blocks. In cache also we have blocks, right? Now if we to eliminate this confusion, in main memory also we have blocks, in cache also we have blocks, right? So it is confusing. To eliminate that confusing, the cache blocks are called lines, right? Not as blocks, they are identified as lines. They are referred as lines, not as blocks, right? So the address given to these blocks are called line numbers, right? Now let's say we have C number of lines, right? So the first one is the address is 0, then the last one is C minus 1, right? Likewise, we have address. These addresses are called tags. These addresses are called tags, right? So what we do is when loading the cache, we take a block of words, block of keywords from the main memory and paste that in the line, cache line. So since the capacity is almost same, we can fill the entire cache line from one block, right? Likewise, we can go if we need to prefer the second block, then we can take the second block and we can place it in the second line in the cache. So the first line in the cache, first one is 0, right? So we take the 0th block from the main memory and place it in the 0th line, right? Next time we take the first block and we place it in the 0th in the zeros, first line. Likewise, we can have C number of lines, right? Let's say, for example, the cache size is, let's say, 64 bytes. For example, our cache, let's say, our cache is having 64 bytes capacity. Cache is having 64 byte capacity, right? Now, this cache is divided into 16 lines. 64 byte cache is divided into 16 lines, right? So that we can have 4 bytes in each line. 4 bytes in each line. Now let's say word size is 1 byte. Word size is 1 byte, so we can store 4 words in a single line. 4 bytes in single line. Right? Now that is the way we divide the cache. Right? Now in our example, this one line, the capacity of the line is 4 bytes, so we can store 4 words. We have 16 bytes. Right? The main memory, that is very larger than the capacity compared to the cache memory. Right? So let's say, now let's go for another example. Later on we can go to example. Right? Now that is the way we place data in main memory to the cache. Right? We take block of memory and we place that block in a block of cache. Right? We don't refer it as a block, we refer it as a line. We take block from main memory and place it in a line. Right? But the thing is, number of blocks are very much than the number of line in the cache. Right? Number of blocks are much than the number of line in the cache. So there is a problem how to allocate these blocks into the line. Right? So that is discussed in the mapping. There are few mapping mechanisms. There are few mapping mechanisms, right? Using those mechanisms, we can map these main memory blocks into the cache, right? We can discuss these mechanisms later, right? Now let's go to the cache operation. Right? Now, this is the overview of cache operation. CPU request content from the main memory location. CPU request content of memory location, and check cache for this data at the first time. If it is present, we can get it from the cache, right? That is very fast. If it is not present, read the required block from the main memory to cache, right? And that means we have taken that block to the cache and then deliver from the cache to the CPU, right? When the memory is in the cache, then we can deliver that data from cache to the CPU, right? And cache includes tag to identify which block of main memory is in the each cache. Now see this. Cache is having tag, right? Tag is the place it stores the block address of the main memory. Now, let's say if we take this block and it is stored in the 0th line, right? This tag will be referred as 0. It is stored 0th value. It means the block is 0, stored 0th value. Right? Let's say if we stored 23rd block, then the tag will be stored storing the value 23, right? So tag is the reference of main memory block. Tag is the reference for main memory block. So by deferring the tag, we can tell which block is stored in the cache, right? So the cache includes a tag to identify which block of main memory is in each cache slot. Right? Now this is cache read operation flowchart. Right? Now this is the starting point. Right? The first thing is retrieving address from address retrieving address from CPU, and each block containing RA in cache requested address, right? If it is in the cache, right, then we can fetch it to the CPU. Fetch means getting read, referring, right? Then that is done, right? If it is there in the cache, that is called cache hit. That is called cache hit. If it is not there in the cache, that is called cache miss, right? If miss occurs, then what will happen? If that is not in the cache, we have to go to the main memory and access main memory for block containing that register, and then allocate cache line for main memory block, right? Deliver that block, that particular word to the CPU, and load memory block into the cache line. Right now, these two things has to be done in the same time. Right? We need to allocate the cache line from the main memory, and then we have to pick that cache block, sorry, main memory block to the cache, and at the same time we have to deliver that particular memory into the particular content into the GPU. Right? Now that is the cache operation. Right? And these are the designing aspects. We need to, when we design a cache, these are the things to consider. Right? We have to think about how we are going to address the cache location and the size. What is the size of the cache? And the mapping. Mapping means how to place main memory blocks into the cache. The problem is cache is very smaller than the main memory. Main memory is a bigger one, right? Having a large number of words and large number of blocks, right? The cache is having small locations, so we have to facilitate the large memory by using a small one, right? So that we have to split the main memory into small blocks, and we have to split the cache into small lines, right? We have to decide that size, right? And number of caches, how many caches we are going to implement. Right? Next one is addressing. Where does cache sit between the processor and virtual memory management unit? Just ignore this one. We have to discuss the memory management. Memory management unit. Memory management unit is a memory management unit is a physical device to control these memories, right? These facilitate the addressing, right? Later on we can discuss about that. Now this is the organization of cache. Cache is placed in between the processor and the main memory, right? Main memory is linked to the processor via the system bus, right? Or the address bus, right? Now, let's say if processor needs some data, right? First, it look that address in the cache, right? If it is a cache hit or that address is there in the cache, right? Processor can refer that data. You can read that data, right? No need to go to the main memory via system bus, right? So in the middle of this link or this bus, right? Internal bus, right? This is the bus which uh, facilitate the communication in between system bus and the processor, right? Uh, now there is a physical device called address buffer is located in the middle of this address, right? Nearby the system bus, right? Now this controls the communication in between the processor and the system bus, and this is like a switch, right? We can on and off this switch. Once we off this switch, the communication through this will not happen, and if it is on, then the communication can be happen, right? Now if cache hits occurs, then we can disable this buffer, right? So these signals will not move to the system bus, right? And this one also we can disable. If hit occurs, these two buffers we can disable, right? So no more communication in between system bus and main memory. If the data address is not there, if the processor seeking address is not there, then we have to switch on these two buffers, and we have to communicate with the main memory via system bus, right? And that is a typical organization of the cache, right? And these are the, some information regarding caches, capacities, uh, manufacturing year. And this is the mapping function. Mapping function is needed to map main memory blocks into the cache, right? Now let's say now we have cache of 64 bytes, right? And we divided this 64 byte cache into blocks of 4 bytes. So the capacity of a block is 4 bytes. So we can have 16 blocks, but each block is having the capacity of 4 bytes, right? So cache is 16K 2 to the 4, 2 to the 14 lines of 4 bytes, right? So these things we can understand by doing an example, right? So the main memory, that is 16 megabytes with 16 megabytes, right? Now see, main memory is 16 megabyte, cache is 64 kilobytes, right? The size is different. There's a big difference, right? So in main memory is having 24-bit addresses. 24-bit addresses. So address width is 24. So how many different addresses we can generate? That is 2 to the power 24. Altogether 16M. 16M is for 16, nearly 16 million. So 16 million addresses we can generate. Right? 16 million locations we have. So we have to facilitate those 16 million addresses by using these 64 kilobytes memory. Right? Now we have 16,000 cache lines, but we have to facilitate 16 million memory blocks, right? So in order to facilitate this, we need a mapping function. How to map, right? Now there are a few mapping mechanisms we have to study. One is direct mapping, and another one is associative mapping and set associative. Likewise, few. But before going to those mechanisms, we have to understand clearly what is happening in the cache, right? How cache works, and then only we can understand mapping mechanisms. Right? Now this is these are complicated, right? So that I will send this slideshow to you with the PDF book. Right? You can go through. So I'll wind up the session today without going in detail to the mapping. Right? So you can go through up to direct mapping, not up to direct mapping. We don't do direct mapping. So if you have any doubt, please drop me a mail or you can call me and ask. Doesn't matter, right? Next day I'll do the mapping, direct mapping, associative mapping, and all the other things, right? Now, if you have any problems or doubt, now you can ask. Hello.
No, sir.
ප්‍රශ්න තියෙනවා නම් අහන්න. අනේ ඇහෙන්නේ නැහනේ.
මේ ප්‍රශ්න තිබ්බොත් සර් මේල් එකක් දානවා සර්. මේ පොඩ රිප්ලයි කරලා
නැත්නම් කෝල් එකක් දාන්න ප්‍රශ්න නැහැ. right? ඊළඟ ලෙසන් එකේදී මම මේ මැපින් ටික උගන්වන්නම්. ඉතින් මේක මේ තේරුම් ගන්න බෑ අර ටික තේරෙන්නේ නැත්නම් හරියට. ඒ නිසා මම මේ PDF book එකක් තියෙනවා මම ඒකත් එවන්නම් slide show එකත් මම එවන්නම්.
හරි සර්.
right? Okay. Right. Thank you for joining.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much sir.